Hi, I'm following along with Paul McWhorter's Raspberry Pi lessons, and this week he was using the ultrasonic sensor that to measure distance, and he gave us homework last week to do that, and turned out pretty good. And, similar to what we did in with the Arduino, I did with the Arduino, so it wasn't that hard to understand. Um, but at the end of this lesson, he said, homework for next week is, okay, so let's see if we can set up an experiment to uh, calculate our own speed of sound. And when he said that, I said, oh, that's not even going to be worth a video. All we got to do is rearrange the equation and solve for the rate instead of the distance, and nothing to it, and we'll get it done. And I said, so I did it real quick and came up with some reasonable numbers in about 15 minutes. And said, wow, that's not even worth a video. And then I got thinking about it. I said, well, that's okay, but like maybe students in a science lab might want to do this. And how would we go about making a experimental lab for doing that? I said, I haven't used my favorite Python library, the PySimpleGUI library, in a while, and maybe make it fancy enough to use that. And okay, that's cool. Then I said, well, what if we made the Raspberry Pi and ultrasonic sensor and put it in a case all by itself and made it like a standalone project? So that's actually what I did. And I'll show you the project part of it. I don't know how much you'll see on here, but I actually just printed a two-piece case, or designed a two-piece case, and for the Raspberry Pi, and made it thick enough to put the ultrasonic sensor in. Got it just connected with four female DuPont cables, female to female DuPont cables on both ends. And see, it actually goes like this. It's like this. It would sit on a table, and put your ruler on it, and you can do your measurements. So I came up with that idea. I put the cooling slots in and everything. So that was an interesting Fusion 360 crossover with his Fusion 360 lessons. Made Arduino cases in the past, but I never made a Raspberry Pi case. That was a little interesting. It even snaps together. I've watched the Ruiz brothers over on the Adafruit website, and they have a good system for making snap together cases. So I use their ideas a lot. So that's how it snaps together. But anyhow, after I got the case designed and printed and sit in there and everything, I said, well, time to get to the coding. So I guess it's time for us to get to the coding as well. So again, I'm using the VNC program to remote into the Raspberry Pi. So all it has to do is be on the same, well, I guess it has to be on the network, and we have to be able to connect to it. So I went into all that, how I did that a while back in a video. But so let's go to the top. So I'm not going to explain all this code, but basically we're just using the PySimpleGUI library as SG, and need the Raspberry Pi library and also the time library. So not too bad there. And so the used a lot of stuff from the regular ping code that we did last week, and I brought out a function to get the echoes. And I wanted to do this with the scientific method, so I actually take 10 readings and then average them at the end. And I'll explain more once we get the program up. running. But so that's that part. We're just storing the 10 readings and then averaging them down here into a list. And this is the GUI part of it. We're doing, creating our GUI down here. This one used up, maybe 20 lines of code making the GUI. Again, it's so much easier than the tkinter library to use. Although I hadn't used it for several months, I had to go back and relearn a lot of the stuff, but it's good to refresh myself on it. And then we got the while true, and like I said, to work with the GUI, we have to do this. First thing we need to do is read the window each time to see if a button's been clicked or whatever. And then these are the things that happen if a button gets clicked or something happens in there. Kind of cool. So I know that some people, Paul, using inches and miles per hour for his conversions and everything. And I know several people on there say, well, we don't use imperial units anymore, so they wanted to go with centimeters and meters per second. So I said, well, that's not too hard. I might as well figure them all out. So I have like little boxes you'll see where you can choose between inches and centimeters, and also meters per second and miles per hour. So, and you can actually mix and match either one of those units. So you can have measurements in inches and get meters per second out. Like I said, I didn't go into like feet per second or anything like that. I just did miles per hour and meters per second. But it was fun trying to come up with the conversions to do that. And like I said, you end up with some big numbers here because, like I said, you get 3.6 to the 9th, 10 to the 9th. So that was pretty big numbers to mess with on that. So anyhow, that worked out well. Like you say, when you get down to the metric units, you're only have to do 1 to the 6 a million, because like I said, we're working in microseconds, and our microseconds is a millionth of a second. So to get meters per second, you gotta do the conversions on that. So anyhow, it came out well. And also, one of the cool things that you can do with the GUI is that you can validate your numbers as you're putting them in a text into a box up there, so that you can only get numbers 1 through 9 plus the decimal place. And basically all you're doing down here, it's kind of fun. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the rest of the code, but this is kind of fun because all you do a try and accept to see if what the person put in is an actual floating point number. If it can do the conversion to a floating point number, then it says, okay, we'll accept that digit that they just typed. It checks on every digit that's entered in there, and then, or every change to it. So if you inserted a number, it would also do that. And if it doesn't like it, then it backs out 1 digit. So anyhow, and again at the end, the while true thing, you always have this exit thing here. If the end is wing closed, or you hit the exit button, wing closes the X in the corner, so that's the same thing. Or the wing closed, and it's going to break out of this, and that's when you do your GPIO cleanup and close the window, and you're all done for the day. So anyhow, turned out better than I hoped. So let's go ahead and get it opened up and show you what's going on here. All right. Oh, got my head in the way. Actually, I'm probably going to turn myself off. Stop video. Okay, so this is my GUI for doing speed of sound lab. This is a static picture here. I just took a picture of a setup so that people could see, so if actually this was a working thing for students, they could see how to set it up with the ruler in front of it. This is the box that's snapped together now with the, and you set your distance. And like I said, we have it where we're taking our 10 trials of our echo, and then we're averaging them down there. The computer does all that, and we do that. But we'll go from the top here. So we have our direction, set up lab to measure a distance. So this is, and then they would refer to this picture to set it up correctly. And then you enter whatever distance. So I think I set this one at 4 inches. So you would say 4 inches, but we also could change that to centimeters if we wanted to. And then once we got that entered, so mine's set up. I got it just set up here. I don't have it set up it's still out of its case on my computer here. So it looks like it might be about 5 inches from the screen of the computer. So we'll use 5 inches. And then we're going to get our echoes, and you can see our echoes are in microseconds. So I set it up so that you can read the echoes and you can get them again. So say that you had something here, say if you had a 500 or a 1500 in here, something that was just an error reading that just didn't work out. So I'll put my hand in front of it. So you can take it again if you want to. So I'll take it again. If you put your hand in there, you can see you got a real low number. And that's going to skew your average down here and everything. So we'll take real numbers again. Looks like it's mostly around 860 something. So, oh, there's a 790 popped in, but that's okay. We'll see how it is. Like I said, I'm not going to do the calculations, but after you get your readings, it says this is where the students would do your calculations for the speed of sound in your chosen unit. So they would actually go to pen and paper on that and find their units and get that, their units on there. And they would do the work on, like I say, on pencil and paper, and then they would enter their results here. And like I said, it could either be in miles per hour or meters per second. So we'll leave it at miles per hour here and see what happens. And we know that, I'm just going to say, I think I calculated it 758.2. Okay, so that was what I calculated. And this is where the students have to show their work because, like I said, they're not going to learn if they don't do that. So then you can check your results and you get a pop-up window, and it says that the speed of sound lab calculated 662.0 miles per hour. So my measurement might be off on that. And then you calculated it, this is just repeating what's in your what you typed into that thing. And like I said, the units come up and everything. So they could repeat this as many times as they want. They could change the distance over here on the ruler and repeat it several times and do their lab work in pencil and paper, and then, check their results. And they could keep going and, like I said, do the readings all over again. Let's say we got a lot closer readings this time. Let's try this one. It looks like it's going to be about 3 inches. So let's change that to 3. And I still think it's 758. So we'll do it. And this time it came up with 937 miles per hour. So we're way under and way over on the units on that, but that's why you got to use your pencil and paper, not just guess at it. So anyhow, that's what I wanted to show today. And like I said, it turned into a lot bigger project from a 15-minute rearrange the equation to, I spent probably 10 hours on this, relearning the PySimpleGUI again, and getting all the equations right, and see, printing. Oh yeah, spent time in Fusion 360. The case in Fusion 360, cases like that are fairly easy to make. I might have spent 45 minutes on it, getting all the cutouts in it and everything right, measuring, but that kind of stuff isn't too bad. Got it printed out and snapped together first time, so that was good. And had to take a little bit of a knife and loosen up the holes just a little. I think my printer might have had a little bit of elephant foot on the start of it. I thought I'd had that pretty worked out, but I might need to go in and readjust that a little bit. But it only took 15 seconds with a X-Acto knife, just cleaning it up, just scratching it to get rid of the plastic, and the ultrasonic sensor fits right in there nice and snug. Rather have it snug than wide open so it falls out. So it worked out pretty good. Anyhow, that's my video for this week. Thanks for watching, and thanks, Paul, for all you do. Have a great week.